Man, some people just absolutely refuse to take the win. I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine turned out to be the biggest smash hit of the summer movie season, and while I don't think it's going to be enough to change the trajectory of the MCU, it could at least be seen as the first step in the right direction. What Marvel really need to do now is follow it up with a high-profile, crowd-pleasing project, something to solidify the success of Deadpool and prove that it was more than just a lucky fluke for a franchise that's sliding slowly into irrelevancy. So naturally, they decided to follow it up with Agatha All Along. And if that name's not familiar to you, you might remember it more as Agatha House of Harkness, or Agatha Coven of Chaos, or Agatha Darkhold Diaries.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
And yeah, the constant name changes were definitely an intentional move as part of a quirky marketing campaign, and totally not a panicking studio trying different ways to polish a turd. It's a show that's been in development for so long that I genuinely started to forget what it was even based on, and I suspect the people behind the trailer realised this too, which is why about 50% of it is just a recap of WandaVision. Ah, remember WandaVision? Remember the first few episodes that hinted at a bold and inventive new way of Marvel storytelling on Disney Plus, only to devolve into the same generic CGI slop as everything else they've put out in the past 5 years? Anyway, believe it or not, the show is almost upon us now, and having watched the trailer and a couple of the behind the scenes featurettes to familiarise myself with what it's trying to be, the biggest question that comes to my mind is, who's this show even made for? Don't worry though, we'll come back to that question in a minute. The general premise, as far as I understand it, is that Agatha was stripped of her powers and imprisoned by Wanda at the end of WandaVision, but with Wanda dead, for now at least, Agatha's been released from her spell. The problem is that she still doesn't have her witch powers back, and the only way to retrieve them is to follow the witch's road, where she'll be rewarded by whatever she wants at the end. Provided she can survive the trials, of course. So before you can say contrived plot ideas, she's assembled a diverse squad of witches to embark on her journey with her. Nice to see a token male witch thrown in there too. I'm sure he's going to be a real bastion of masculinity.
Can I interest you in a pre-road appetizer?
Ah, never mind. While we're on that subject though, let's see if we can find any of the other modern MCU trademarks, shall we? Cringeworthy attempts at humour?
You're bound.
And you need a chemical peel.
Check. Generic tough female character that everyone's supposed to be scared of? Check. Implied gay relationship that can be easily edited out for international releases?
Do I hate her or do I want her phone number?
Check.
This is never gonna work.
Never a truer word was spoken, lass. The one thing I can say in the show's favour is that they seem to be prioritising practical effects over CGI, at least according to the behind the scenes featurettes, which is something, I guess. In a franchise where apparently it's too much effort to even film on a suburban street for real, it's nice to see production designers working with prosthetics, animatronics, and actual physical sets for a change. I mean, I definitely wouldn't expect them to continue this trend, but it did make me think that someone in charge of it actually cares about the end products. That's nice and all, but I suspect all that good work is going to be undone by the writing, which, if the trailer and the features is anything to go by, is going to make Amy Schumer seem like Dave Chappelle.
No.
I mean, I know that humour's subjective, but Jesus Christ, there's only so far you can push that premise before it collapses under the weight of terrible gags, awful delivery, and a tone so predictable that it feels like it came off an assembly line. It's weird because the featurettes keep making such a big deal out of how hilariously funny the lead actress is, and how surprising it is that she can also do drama.
So many people think of Catherine as being a comedic actor, but it's her dramatic ability to go all the way there. Blast me, you witches!
Meanwhile, all I could think about was this scene from Planet Terror.
They all say I'm hysterical.
But you're not.
This is what happens when you tell people lies their entire careers. Lies like, you're really funny, or you're a great singer, or this show is totally going to be a hit, trust me. I think the person I feel most sorry for though is Aubrey Plaza, one of the only actresses in this show who's actually funny in real life, and probably deserves a lot more success than she's gotten in her career. If Jenna Ortega is the MCU, then Plaza is the Fox X-Men movies, someone who got there first, had their share of wins and losses, but never quite reached the same heights and ultimately blew their best chance of success. But I think the biggest problem this show has to overcome is that, well, nobody really wanted this fucking thing in the first place. It was commissioned at a very different time, a time when Marvel was still riding high, and they probably thought that every new Disney Plus show was going to spawn a whole network of spin-offs that people would absolutely gobble up.
Fuck.
And well, the reality in 2024 is very different. Tell me, are you excited to watch a show that's basically a spin-off of a spin-off, centered around a character that was so completely forgettable that it's almost impossible to even form an opinion about her now? I asked at the start of this video who I thought this show was made for, and taking into account the aging and mostly female cast, the campy tone, the song and dance numbers, the constant wardrobe changes, and the painfully dated attempts at humour, it seems to be a show targeted at middle-aged wine mums who also have a passing interest in superhero movies. And I'm not gonna lie, that is a pretty small demographic you're appealing to there. I think Marvel themselves suspect that this show is dead in the water and is likely to land with all the impact of a left hook from Stephen Hawking, which is why there's been almost no advertising pushed for it. By all accounts, their senior leadership is very aware of their decline in popularity these days, and more importantly the reasons why it's happening, and they're working hard to alter course. The problem is that massive franchises like the MCU are about as manoeuvrable as your average supertanker, and there's still a whole lot of shit in the pipeline that's too far along to salvage. For example, Ironheart's been in the can for years now and they still haven't released it because they know it's gonna suck. But just like the DCU once James Gunn took over, there's not much choice except to expel it out into the world, get it over with, and hopefully move on to something better. Honestly, with 9 episodes to get through, I don't think I'll even bother watching Agatha All Along, and I suspect a lot of other people out there are gonna feel the same way. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.